Boopy. You guys are going on a ride with Poga.
Bugger it. I'm just gonna put it back to the top. Alrighty.
You're going on a ride with Poga.
Coolly, coolly.
There we go.
So,
So the first one that I put on the list for you was campaign. Whatever you want to talk about with 1.4 before we get into that, go for it.
yeah. No, we'll just go straight into it. A lot of stuff to sort of chat about, but campaigns it is. So, the reason that we wanted to do a campaign, to be completely honest, was because we felt that the old campaign was horrible. Almost objectively so, although, you know, everything is relative, so we felt that it was not only the least polished and least, I'm gonna say designed, but I know that's not a very correct term to use, part of the game, and that is exacerbated by the fact that it is the first thing that any new player is prompted to experience. This had been weighing on us for quite some time, because the last thing we want is for the player to be pushed into the worst part of our game straight away, told, trust me, it's gonna get better, and then have to wade through, what, like 60 odd missions, 64 missions I'm pretty sure it was. They didn't have to, obviously, but a lot of people do. So honestly, we felt that there was no real point of keeping all those missions, because A, we felt that we could do a better job. B, we felt that we were actively losing players, because players would come into a very, very, very suboptimal campaign experience and be like, this is dumb, what is this, I'm leaving, without ever actually being able to get to sort of like the core of the campaign. Sorry, the core of the actual game, which is, I'm sure you're all aware, sort of a more PvP based sort of experience. That's where you get really that sort of engagement, that fulfillment from. So because of that, we got into designing the new campaign. Now, at the start, when we first started designing the new campaign, we didn't make any conscious decisions as to whether or not we were going to get rid of the old campaign. We thought maybe we would, maybe we wouldn't. We weren't really thinking about it too much. We just went and designed the new campaign. But we made a conscious decision to make the new campaign a completely comprehensive experience within just one go. We touch on a couple of different factions. You only get to play as 3, I think, in the main one. Flame Dawn Genesis Hybrid, and then Varroa. And then you get to play one of each of the primary factions, not Sleepers, not Exiles, not Overseers, in the challenge missions to earn your decks. So, but we wanted to sort of give that all up front, and because of the fact that we made it smaller missions, we could then afford to put the resources that would normally be put into things like more missions into those little comic cinematics that you saw. You got to get full voice acting for it, you know, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's in a nutshell why we wanted to make a new campaign, because believe it or not, it is, I'd say, the second most important part of the entire game. The most important part is the core gameplay, what James is doing here, and then after that, very much so, the most important part of the game is the first 30 minutes of the game that the player is going to experience when they're forming their initial impressions. You know, first impressions are very important when meeting someone, when going to work, and when playing a game. It's all pretty much the same. So, if anyone has any more specific questions about the campaign, I'd be more than happy to delve into something else. But that is, in general, why we decided to get rid of the old campaign and keep the new one. Actually, there was a time in which we were going to keep the old campaign, but we honestly thought that... How do we put this? Our game isn't big enough to justify such a thing. If our game was really big and we had some sort of cache locked away somewhere that we could have the Infinity Wars Legacy Vault, in which you could go and see all of the past iterations of the game in all of their weird, wacky, and unpolished splendor, just for sort of like, you know, shits and gigs, then we may have done that, we may have put that away. But as the old campaign was quite a bit larger in content than the new campaign, keeping it in the game and pushing it to the side, we feel would actually, you know, not help us in any way. People go through the good campaign, they're like, wow, this game's good, and then they go to the other campaign and they're like, what, they just kind of like gave up? Because most new players, if we were to keep the old campaign, would presume that the entirety of the campaign, both the new and old campaign, were done at once. Which means people would just assume that the old campaign, we just kind of gave up and stopped trying, and we didn't want that either. So yeah,
while all of this is going on, I got completely wrecked.
Yeah, I'm watching this. This is the new War Machine, right?
Yeah, this is the new War Machine.
No QQing about the new War Machine.
This is like, I had the early portion of this game. I lost it really quick. We got, let's go.
Don't let it get out of hand, man. It's okay, you got Wholesale Slaughter.
Yeah, I'm thinking of just throwing that out because I can.
Both of them. Can't exile them though, so you know, don't try to do that.
I don't even care. We're doing 2. We're doing 2. Go away, Hills Gambler. It's fine. Ah! Quit disconnecting. Double wholesale. Some men just want to watch the world burn. So yeah, as for the question of, I'm not going to quote exactly what the question was, because that single question is limited. But as for, will the campaign get more stuff later on? That is a good question. I'm going to let Poga answer that.
Yeah, okay, so the way that we've set up the campaign, specifically with the the maps, and if some of you have sort of figured it out, you know, there's the maps are showing 3 different worlds of Reach-Talik and the old world. Not only that, but because of the fact that instead of simply being in a list, the actual missions are also sort of located geographically on the map. This does give us a bit of space to both flavorfully sort of like expand the world. So yes, basically, we can put more missions and more campaigns and more lists and more everything into the pre-existing map when we have the time and resources to do so. And it'll be the same map. So, you know, yes, basically. If we want to do a Sleepers campaign, an Exiles campaign, an Overseers campaign, whatever the new faction that's going to be coming out within the next 12 months campaign, you know, that is very possible that we're going to just put new campaigns straight in, and then we'll make a new challenge mission, we'll make a new set of missions. But now also we've set a standard for ourselves in which every campaign that comes out from here on in is going to have to be cutscene, fully voice acted, all of that stuff. So we're not taking any steps back, always taking steps forwards. But yes, the system is set up so that we can add new campaigns of any other faction whenever we want.
Yep. Kitsune, this was already stated, like, when the next faction will come out. So a new faction is introduced at the start of every block, and Oppression is the second set of the order block, right? So you've got Rebellion as the last set of this block, and then when the next set after Rebellion comes out, that is the start of a new block or chapter. Yep. And that's going to be when a new faction is introduced.
As for Pixelli, who just asked a tiny little bit of sort of scrap of lore question, right now I cannot answer that. We are in the process, pre-Rebellion. We will be doing a lot of, how do I put it, lore consolidation. We really want to make lore much more of a forefront, much more relevant in our designs, both card designs and also campaigns, and we wish to do some sort of, short story offshoots, really sort of fleshing out the actual world of Infinity Wars that we have. But in order to do that, we need to consolidate the lore that we have. We will need to do a little bit of retconning, and we will need to, instead of creating bits and pieces here and there, we're going to have to create a larger overarching universe all at once. And that particular question as to the political and control structure of the Flame Dawn is one of those things that is currently up to finalization. So I cannot right now confirm whether or not it is an empire or not. They're definitely an entire nation. and not a smaller part of another nation. But as for their particular control structures, we're not 100% sure. We currently have one, but we don't know whether we're going to keep it. So yeah.
So that's a thing. Those are things.
That is quite a thing.
That is indeed a thing. I know. Well played. I played that match so well. I am quite literally the epitome of skill. The look on Pogo's face, though. Ah! There we go. Okay. New invite system. Why did Master and Apprentice system go away? And what is the purpose of the new system?
Okay. Well, a couple of things. First of all, we ripped the guts out of both the Master and Apprentice and the invite system wholesale straight up because we thought that they were in some ways abusable, non-intuitive, and honestly they were the UI and the interface used to actually access these features was absolutely prehistoric. Like back from the days of early tech alpha, it was horrible. It was another reason that we got rid of their campaign, right? It was really old. It wasn't up to the standards of the rest of the game, so we took it out and replaced it. Same thing with the invite system. Now, with the actual, so that's why we removed it. As to why we then replaced it, obviously we wanted an invite system. We put the new invite system in. We hope in the future we're going to sort of iterate on the usability, but we hope for it to be a more intuitive system. As you've seen, I'm sure you've all seen the little pop-up that comes up, looks a bit more flashy. I'm pretty sure the actual the rewards are still disabled while we're working some stuff out. As for the why we didn't go with another Master and Apprentice system, honestly, because we threw up a whole bunch of ideas about why we wanted to have a Master and Apprentice system, and in the time that we had to recreate the invite system, we didn't actually come up with anything that we all agreed was better and that we should put in and is going to help the game without any possible abuses and also be achievable in the time that we had to create the feature. This isn't saying that later on down the line we're not going to iterate on our current, invite system, possibly even investigate the possibility of some other longer term lasting Master and Apprentice system again. No guarantees, but if we are going to investigate that again, then we're going to want to do it properly and we're going to want to do it. So I don't know, we just felt that we really didn't hit the nail on the head last time we did it. It was nice. Some people used it, but like we have the metrics and we have all the we got all the computers that can read all the scores and who does what, and like a lot of people that were using the Master and Apprentice system were just doing it and then botting and then farming IP and all that sort of stuff. So we wanted to get rid of that. Anyway, so that's why we took out the old system and put in the new one. The new one we wanted to make, relatively feature minimal. It's finite, so you have your 5 players that you can request, and you can have your 5 free rewards that you can get from simply, and then that's it. We were tossing up the possibility of having perpetual rewards go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, but that was also a case of sort of learning from other games in the industry. We've seen other games, even games such as like League of Legends and others that have done Master and Apprentice systems or done invite systems with infinitely scaling rewards, and that it always gets out of hand. It never works because 9 times out of 10 we're going to be able to detect the maximum amount of players that your average player is going to invite, which in this case was approximately 5. But then you're going to have some random streamer or some guy that just invites 10 trillion people and the system is not prepared for it, and then it's a QA nightmare and it's just it's not good stuff. So we're still looking at it, we're still thinking about it, but for the time being, because of the fact that we wanted to release a more polished, finished product with the new invite system, that's why we left it relatively feature minimal. So yeah, that's that.
That's that. This game is so mine.
You sure he's got a walrus, a flying walrus?
It's dead. So
God.
is this flying Hulker. He is dead as well. And no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna let him have his chef. You can have your chef, sir. Come on. Come on. What you got? Actually, I'm gonna pull this back. I don't even care about it. Get up there. And then, as soon as I'm done with this match, we're gonna start with the balance stuff, and I'll give you a list for that and how we're gonna discuss it.
Oh yeah, that's like the real the juicy
That's
bits.
the meat. Oh yeah, because balance.
Yep.
Hashtag balance.
And I'm just gonna say now we've put more man hours into actually balancing not only oppression but also these new cards that we've released now than we have pretty much put into any other cards since.
Right.
Which isn't saying that this is going to be the most we ever do, but it's saying that, you know, we're always putting more and more of a focus on the actual balance, because we all know that impacts the core gameplay, and it's very important.
Right.
You know, changing a guy's stats from 8 to 5, although, you know, production time, it doesn't take that long. The impact it can have on the game is catastrophic.
Absolutely. That's funny. I actually do have lethal here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to ferocity his mountain giant. So that'll leave an 11/11 that'll get pushed back with the distraction drone. And then we'll move the cavalry paladin in back here.
The biker badass.
Biker badass. Badass paladin. Don't matter.
Was his official name in the design documentation for about 3 weeks.
Yup. Get out of here, dear. No one likes you. Get up. Go away. Boom. Nope. No winds of war. I win. GG. GG.
The distraction drone plays.
Distraction drone and ferocity for the win. Gotta love it. I actually loved the way I ended that. Because ferocity is love.
If I'm going to be
Okay.
answering questions about stuff, balance and stuff, I think I need a companion. I'll be back in a sec.
A companion. Oh God.
Hehehe.
Yeah. Yes.
been
No.
on-
I'll have him answer that as soon as he gets back. I promise. I promise.
He hasn't been on camera before, so
Is it a cat?
no, it's not a cat.
Is that a mouse or a rat? I can't see the tail.
It's a rat.
Oh, okay. Oh, that is a longer tail. Okay.
There he is.
It's a little guy. Hi, little guy. What's his name?
Twitch.
Twitch. Nice.
Yes, Twitch.
I like it. I like it. All he needs is a crossbow. That is what he uses, right?
Yes,
It
I
is
do
a-
believe
okay.
it is.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's so cute, and he's so interested in what you're looking at.
This is my finger.
So wrong. Okay. Should have named him one of many. Perfect. So the question at hand was, can you grow a beard, or are you doomed to babyface forever?
Okay, so the story with that is doomed to babyface, but it runs in the family. I've just turned 24,
He's blaming it on
And-
genetics, everyone.
and no, after 24, supposedly we just go like, we just like shrub up,
Like literally, it's just.
pretty much just.
Can you make that sound effect just one more time?
Yeah. So maybe the next time I do this for Rebellion set, you'll see me sort of with a bit more of a but no, right now it's
Bit more of
it's
peach
bu-
fuzz.
Well, no. I grow fuzz. Oh boy,
Okay.
does the fuzz grow? But
Okay.
no one likes fuzz, and so fuzz is removed. So yeah,
Excellent.
babyface confirmed.
Yep,
There you go.
babyface confirmed. Okay. It's a rat, Ember Max. We went over this.
Yeah, he's my pet, and I'm a first time pet owner, so I wanted to sort of like share this with him. Okay, so he's very
right
tame,
as
you
Hail
can see.
Boomy comes out. Perfect. Let's get rid of this. Balance things. Okay. So,
one at a time.
first up-
Drip feed it to me.
Yep, first up, I'm going to be typing these in here. Flame Dawn.
I'll just
Starting
cover up
with-
half my face.
The changes were for Noble Protector, Iberian. Oops,
Oh, people are gonna love why Iberian got changed.
I know, right?
I'm here to tell the truth, nothing but the truth.
Okay. So, let's start with Noble Protector. Noble Protector. The noblest of protectors.
So noble. He's even more noble now. I like to think, at least. Now he's truly noble.
So, what was the change that happened to him? And why did it change?
Alrighty, so the latest.
If you need me to read anything for you, let me know.
No, will do. I may forget one or two things. Okay, so no protector change. He has gone from protecting everyone in the same zone as him, including himself, which is obviously always in the same zone as him, to protecting everyone else in the same zone. So he will no longer protect himself. For those who are wondering, yes, this does mean that if you double stack your nobles, they will protect each other. So you still can simulate that effect by having two nobles in the same zone. If you want to sort of invest those cards and all the rest of it, but he will not do it on his own. Now, that particular iteration was considered in initial development back in Order. He would have been released in, and the reason that we didn't want to go through with it back then was because when we were initially designing it, obviously the AoE damage decks were prevalent. He was kind of like a bit of a He was introduced as a bit of a solution to that. This was back in the days where, you know, Mad Monk was running rampant and spontaneous combustion and so scary. We sort of like look back on those times and have a bit of a giggle now, but you know, everything
just a bit
is
of
the
a
worst.
giggle.
Yeah, everything is
Not
the
a
worst
big
thing.
giggle, just a little bit of a giggle.
Everything is the worst thing ever when you're having to deal with it at that moment. So yeah, but we decided not to go along with it because we thought that, you know, if he doesn't protect himself, then the person is just going to, you know, use the Yanshi's Wrath to kill the guy, and then use another Yanshi's Wrath to kill everything else. So we wanted to try to get the opponent to think of another way of having to get rid of the noble before then going back to their normal strategy of AoE spamming the field. We didn't want it to simply be an AoE spam delayer. We wanted you to actually have to do something different. So that's why we didn't do it initially. But because of the fact that we didn't do that, a lot of people felt that Noble Protector was relatively lackluster in his first sort of like his first iterations, so that we gave him that buff. The reason that we decided to go back is because in hindsight, it seemed like the most sort of subtle yet appropriate buff nerf to give him. And because of the fact that those crazy AoE spam decks aren't as prevalent anymore, it was even more of a reason just to be able to say, you know, he can't protect himself. Yes, if you want to use that Yanshi's Wrath just to kill the Noble. I do believe Noble is still a 4/5, which is going to make that difficult, obviously. Other possible buffs to Noble in the future, obviously, is bringing him down to that 4 health threshold to allow him to be instantly killed by things like Lightning Frost and all the rest of that. But we're seeing how we go, you know, baby steps. And that is what got changed in Noble Protector and why. If there's any other specific questions as to why that I sort of may have glazed over, assumptions and all the rest of it, please make me aware. But yeah, he was too much of a hoser. A lot of decks relied on direct damage to characters in order to actually do anything, and he just said no.
Just no.
And although we do like it when things say no to other things in a more polite manner, in like sorry, not today, under this particular set of circumstances, I'd rather you didn't. You know, when you get to no, then, we...
Then we've got a problem with it.
Yep. So that's the current problem with Calamity, but that's you know, we'll get to that later. Calamity is the no from the heavens. The no that echoes over all eternity.
Let's go here.
Don't do it.
No, let's go here. I want
I'm
3.
guessing because I can hear your voice immediately, so I don't think your voice is lining up with my screen.
No, it's got like a 10-second delay or something.
Delicious.
Let's go here, actually. Yeah, that's fine.
Oh yeah,
What?
for those who are unaware, it is currently 8:40 in the morning. I arose from my sleeping cubicle as of 40 minutes ago, and I will become more and more eloquent, as used by Electro.
That's a good way to put it.
As the time goes on.
It's a good way to
the
put
morning
it.
progresses.
I appreciate the way you put that. Awkward.
Getting wrecked, son? Have you yet to get good?
I never get good. I cannot be good. It is impossible.
I hear that's actually also the plight of game designers and game developers. I'm actually feeling it.
No, that's accurate.
This is why I haven't loved my council, because I can tell you right now that I am actually worse at playing Infinity Wars than I was when I first started working here.
It's true.
It's the curse. It just
true.
happens.
It's absolutely true.
He's so cute.
Come on. Okay, so we went over Noble Protector. That's all well and good. What are we looking at with Aberian?
Next one. Aberian. Okay. I'm just gonna get this over with. Sorry, fans of Aberian, this wasn't really a super balancy change in an attempt to make Aberian in any way relevant to any type of meta ever. It was not that. We like Aberian as a character. As for the actual card itself, we'll be buffing things like Aberian Ascended before we're going to be buffing Aberian in any type of meta sense. But at the same time, in the same way that Kali and Z have had many character reprints, that's probably your best bet if you're looking to use Aberian in your top tier deck. Prove me wrong, but you'll probably have to wait to that. The reason that we reduced Aberian down from 8 to 7 is so that he can more nicely fit in that new player campaign. Because we wanted to play Aberian out, but at an 8 drop, it just didn't gel with the flow of the campaign mission, but at 7, fit in just fine. So we reduced him to 7, because we knew that reducing him from 8 to 7 isn't exactly going to blow anything out of whack. Ta-da!
Or will it?
We'll find out. I'll be very disappointed if it does. If the balance threshold was actually from 7 to 8, and 8 was unusable, 7 is OP, and we moved him to 7 as we have done, and now he just wrecks everything, I'm just gonna laugh at the world and say, "Ha, told you so. It should have been 8." You know,
I like it.
But I don't think that's gonna happen. So that is why we reduced Aberian to 7. You know, I don't sort of like glaze over things. I didn't put that in the patch notes because there are some certain things that people just like. It doesn't matter why he just got bumped down. But yeah, so that's why we brought Aberian down to 7.
Fair
and
enough.
that's why he's not going to be bumped down to 6.
Get your prass out of here. It's not going to work. Punk.
Look at all those commanders you have to kill.
I know, right? Let's go that way. Got 4.
I kind of want to like investigate. This is a little lore wise, but I want to sort of like investigate the possibility of making a card called like Iberian, the now cripply self-aware and existential. Um, Iberian, the slowly becoming aware of his own insignificance in spite of the worlds he has conquered. I think we can have some fun with
I like that.
Iberian and becoming a bit more human and a little less war tyrant. Pay 5. Determine whether or not it is actually worth it to attack this turn, or whether the damage on my soul is not worth the irrevocable. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Deals 3 less damage to women and infants.
That's gonna have to do.
I get to use these glasses at least once
What?
a day, maybe.
He top decked a Dark Blast.
Really?
Really?
Boo earns. Boo
Really?
earns.
I'm gonna sit here and cry.
He believed in the heart of the cards.
He believed. I never believe in the heart of the cards. Get out of here.
Excuse
Get
me, where's
out
the
of
denial-
here. GG.
Where's the denial of magic? God. That actually wouldn't have
Spoiler.
worked anyway.
Spoiler.
Oh, that's right. They haven't been released yet.
No.
Sorry.
Not that one. Good job, Poga.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, it's okay. No one knows what that does.
Right.
Council, don't tell anyone what that does. Have any
Oh,
of the
man.
have the denial cards been spoiled yet?
Let me see how many are being spoiled.
I am so professional right now.
I know, right? One of them is going up on Facebook and Twitter. 2 of them are being given out to YouTube, Twitch people.
These are just cards in general, not like just all denial cards, right?
Yeah, no, just specifically denial cards.
Oh, really? 4
Yeah.
of them? Jeezy Weezy.
No,
Okay,
there's
cool.
one being put up on... Yeah, 1 being put up on Facebook and Twitter, and 2 being given out to YouTube, Twitch people.
Ah, too easy. Okay, well then they shall discover. Last thing I want to do is spoil all of the work we put into PR and spoilers and
Yeah.
delicious stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So that's a thing that people are now aware of as being a potential thing.
I
You guys
like
gonna enjoy
Alara's
that?
comment. Denial of magic means don't play MTG.
Pretty much. I like it. I like it. Let's move on. We got Noble Protector and Iberian, so we're going to move on to Genesis Industries.
Had just about enough of that out of you. We talked about this. Not using that tone here.
Nope.
That was oh my god, that was the tone of the original Iberian voice actor.
Yep.
Oh, God, love it. Martin for life. He's gonna be Iberian forever.
Did you hear the one that I got?
What?
You didn't hear the one that I got?
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure that was the one where it was like, we shall ride down to the flame dawn, and we shall
No.
conquer our enemies.
No.
Oh, no,
No.
there was another one? Okay. In that case, no, I was sort of like off development at that point. I was on other stuff.
Oh, good. Okay, so,
Okay, so we got
War Machine. War Machine.
Oh, okay.
What happened
okay,
to
here
it,
we
and
go.
why did that happen?
Here we go. Time to hose down the haters. Okay. Okay. Just gonna say it straight. When you have 500 cards in a game, sacrifices sometimes have to be made, and sacrifices can come in the form of a single card, and the world does not explode. Someone's world might explode, but unfortunately, well, that's just unfortunate. So, we removed the ability for War Machine to target command because the strongest thing in draft. Okay, the strongest thing you can possibly have in draft is consistency. Okay, that's why your elitas are like meta ads. Okay, because they're in command, they're doing what they do every turn from the get-go. That consistency is just going to carry you in draft. Because of the fact that drafting cards, not so much in Infinity Wars, but still to a certain degree, increases inconsistency. So if you're able to retain that consistency over a very solid command setup, then you're going to have a really big advantage. And what War Machine did was that gave you that immediate consistency. Every time you dropped it down, you always had 3 to just start start just churning through you guys. But at the same time, we didn't particularly have any issue with. Oh, hey, Merlin.
Yeah.
We didn't actually have any particular issue with the actual card effect itself. Just wanted to slow it down a little. Now, some people have said, War Machine was pretty mediocre in the standard, and now it's going to be horrible in standard. But if we're being real, I will take the is crazy OVP dominant in draft, moving that down to an okay area. Not it's as James just got wrecked by it. Obviously, it's not horrible in draft now. It's down to a decent point in draft. That may have even more so lowered its usability in standard, but at that point, that's a sacrifice that we would just willing to have to make. Sometimes we have to do that. Otherwise, we could have played around with just completely reworking the effect and possibly even getting more people upset, skewing trade value even more. We might have even made a more overpowered card than what we were trying to remove. And honestly, we didn't see the need for it. The actual effect is fine. It was just the consistency and the quickness of the effect of it coming out that was just too overpowering. So we made the decision for a healthier draft. We made a slightly worse card in standard. And that's going to be a thing specifically with, they know about the whole Foundation draft thing, right? Checking my spoilers like a pro. Okay, cool. Yeah. Moving on to the Foundation release and the draft rework with the new draft pool and all of the rest of that, where we really are putting more of a focus on drafting. And although War Machine, as far as I'm concerned, is not going to be reprinted into the Foundation set, so therefore will not actually be in draft, it's a mentality that we wanted to enact now before we actually went into... before the Foundation set had even been released and the draft had been reworked, of paying more close attention to draft and not simply saying, oh hey, this card is okay in standard, therefore we're not allowed to touch it in draft. Very much the other way around, because standard is a lot more malleable. Standard is going to live another day regardless. But draft is in a particular position in which if a particular draft bomb exists at particular power levels, it can be much more dominant than any one card in standard because of the inability to sideboard and you're drafting random decks, etc., etc. So in the future, we are going to pay much more of an eye on balancing for draft as well as balancing for standard, and this was really the first step in that direction. So yeah, that's War Machine.
That's War Machine. Give me one moment to completely get destroyed by Merlin here.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and then we'll be able to
we'll observe intently.
Return to this. Hate you so much, Merlin.
Oh, also with Zuza, I don't think it's been implemented now, but the rule of draft is going to be you will not be able to have factionless, hybrid, or dual commanders. Just straight up. So although you will be able to draft Zuza as an actual card in the deck, you will not be able to draft Zuza as a commander anymore as of the draft redo, when we sort of tighten up the rules on draft commanders. We are also, for those who are curious, enacting a rule in which, in an effort to... how do I put this? In an effort to make it so that draft and standard are a little more divided and we don't have to keep tinkering with each one in order to tinker with the other, we are enabling the ability for particular cards. We have one particular card that we're releasing in Oppression that is going to have this rule applied to it immediately, will not be able to be drafted as a draft commander. So factionless, hybrids, duels, and any particular card that we feel is crazy OP are going to be disabled from draft command. The current elites are sort of like balancing on that, but we haven't felt the need to sort of enforce that on them yet.
You know what? No, I'm not going to do that. We're going to do this instead. We'll trade out Warcry.
Yeah, JG knows what I'm talking about. The Exponinator, as I'm now able to call it, because that's not its actual name.
Holy crap, Merlin!
Oh, the Super Jukes. The juiciest of Jukes.
I'm gonna have to. I have to. I just.
Here's the Duke of Jukes.
Come on. You're not posting any questions right now, Iguana. If you want to write some questions, put it up in chat.
Yeah, I'm
wait for
answering
me
them
to get
sort of
completely
live.
decimated, and then we'll be good to go here. What? What's with the double flashbang?
Jukes for Jesus.
Holy God. I was trying to wait one turn, too. I wanted the double slaughter. Ah, I hate you, Merlin. Alright, it's 1-1. You can stop bullying me now.
Let the man walk out with a little bit of his dignity.
Yeah, I got Merlin. There's
Yeah,
a
guys,
reason he's number 1, guys.
If you write stuff in the chat, like questions and stuff, and James or I see one that is like of particular relevance that we'd like to answer, we can just like copy it out into our own sort of like list that we're sort of making on the fly and may be able to get to it later. So feel free to
with
type
the
anything that you want to know.
those Q&A things.
Yeah, and usually we have like a Q&A after the fact, so
Yerp.
that's the thing.
So let's move on to Varor. Cult of Varor. Rubble Golem. Go.
Cultivar or Rubber Golem. Pretty much summed up in the patch notes. I'm obviously aware of why it wasn't completely like meta dominating, because of the current state of the meta. But Ian, who is not as in touch with the finer points of the current metagame, was just blown away with why it wasn't crazy insane, just from a pure stats point of view. So I wasn't going to be able to not make the change regardless, because I do have people to answer to. But if I really wanted to keep it, we could have. Honestly, it just seemed like a sensible change. Although right now, maybe it's a good card that wasn't completely broken, but it had the capability of being insane in any other type of meta environment. Like if the meta shifts, if suddenly like if suddenly like the meta slows down a little and you're relying on larger things, and these chump blockers are like even more effective. So there's way too many scary variables to consider, so we just took off the ability for it to gain health and command. If you just want to play at level 2, start stockpiling it, have it be vulnerable in the support zone, go for your life. We're still okay with those huge numbers on it, but we didn't want to be able to have you make those huge numbers so consistently and with such safety. So we simply took off that protection, and we want to see how that sort of turns out. I really don't think that this is going to make Rumble Golem like C tier. It's not going to really crush its usability. It'll definitely make it worse, but it's not. I'd be very surprised if suddenly people straight up stop running Rumble Golem into Purity Varor, like on principle. Although with the slime coming out, no, Rumble Golem.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, it's okay. They're different decks, 2 different decks.
Right. Okay, so this is actually a good question, and I will answer it because I know some people may have that question moving forward, especially if you're watching this on YouTube. Iguana Man says, isn't Infinite Mode going to get a bit bonkers with, for example, originals and reprints of the same card being viable and playable in the same block or chapter, being able to run 6 of one card, etc.? First response, if they are actually the same card, it still follows the same rules.
Yep.
So
the rule that we have is name. We haven't really hit that wall yet, but the first rule is definitely name. So if 2 cards have identical names, then as far as we're concerned, they're the same card. So
and as far as the system is concerned, you can only add 3 of that card into your deck if it's the same name. So that's
and now Ian and I are also in discussion about another mechanic that isn't relevant yet, but may be relevant in the future. Where we may have it name or name and faction. So it is possible that down the line we may, because we just, for example, what's a really just nice, like Assassinate. That's a really nice name for a card. It tells you exactly what it's going to do, right? And this is a lesson we've sort of learnt from Magic the Gathering. If we're here in 5 years, we may want to use that word Assassinate in the name of a card again. But whether or not we want to go about doing that is another case. So there's the possibility that, there's currently Stumble in the Flame Dawn. If we make another tempo-based rush deck faction that we want to have a card with exactly the same effect as Stumble, we may use the same word Stumble again. So now Flame Dawn has a Stumble and this new faction has a Stumble, both the same words, the same text, the same purity. The only difference would be the actual faction of it. Whether or not you will be able to then have technically 6 Stumbles at that point, or whether we will have to again lower it down to only 3 based on name, is another thing that we're still working out. But that would get a little bonkers. But no, yeah, it's standard MTG rules in that if a card has the same name, then you can't use upwards of 6 or more of them in a deck. Infinity mode is going to get bonkers for other reasons, in the same reason that said like Legacy mode in Magic is always bonkers and will kill you in 2 turns. But that's just part and parcel of the whole not rotating cards out permanently, which isn't what we want to do. We want to let you guys use your cards forever in a particular game mode. And I've got a feeling Infinite mode is going to get pretty popular. I've got a feeling it's going to get more and more popular as more and more cards rotate out.
Absolutely.
And the pool becomes bigger. It's definitely a niche, but it's, I think, a niche that a lot of people are really going to enjoy. But just get prepared for crazy combos.
Well, and that's something I wanted to touch on as well. I know I brought this up a while ago. Wasn't going to bring it up until when it actually became pertinent. But there is a concept in play that may see the light of day in the next chapter or block. We may be utilizing community-based ban and restrict lists specifically for Infinite mode. Just so you guys are aware. There might be something that happens there because it is absolutely going to be a mode where some crazy things can happen. And we don't necessarily want it to be a cesspool of unhealthy game. So...
It's gonna be, but we'd rather it not be.
Yeah, we'd rather be able to limit it as best we can without taking work away from the core of the game.
Yeah.
So there may be something that happens on that point when it becomes pertinent. But I just want everyone to be aware that concept is something we're aware of and we are thinking about as we move forward.
And I would imagine that would be very community driven as well.
Yep.
So like if the community votes, we need this card taken out or restricted, then we'll sort of follow that because we simply don't have the manpower to pass through every possible thing in Infinite mode forever.
Right.
At least right now we don't. Someone wants to know why Chain Lightning also deals double damage to artificials. It's because Lightning Blast does, and although we may say yeah, duh, honestly, we kind of just wanted to keep it because it just kind of fit really nicely. If it becomes crazy out of control and just for raw completely hoses Genesis now because it has 2 cards that deal double to artificials, then maybe we'll have a look at it. We do know it's there, we are aware of it, it was a conscious decision, and we are monitoring it, but sorry Genesis. Being artificial itself is, like, as I'm sure a lot of Genesis players know, a boon. It is definitely a good thing that you want to have, so I'm not particularly against the fact that artificials, while being probably one of the most sought after subtypes in the game for use in other combos, also has weaknesses that other subtypes don't have. So yeah, unfortunate, but we'll see how that goes.
It is a conscious decision that was made. It was mostly for thematic reasoning. It works for the card. It's what we had on Lightning Blast. However, if thematics prove too strong, then we'll take a look at it. In that light, please remember that all of these cards you're seeing are Oppression spoilers. These are early releases. None of these cards are final. They are subject to change without warning and at our own discretion. So we are taking a look at all of them, we are monitoring everything, and we are still looking at balance before the set releases. So it's a good question to ask. Just remember that none of these cards are final.
Yeah, I like Chain Lightning. Chain Lightning, for me, it's the Overcharged Storm I wish I had, but we made Overcharged Storm, so. It's all good. We live and learn and move on.
Yeah.
So, what's the next faction?
Give me 1 second here. We're on the big one.
Really? Can we skip over every other one and then get to the big one?
Is final. Vlipsis. Art is done. Yeah, we can skip over that. Let's go to Exiles. Wholesale Slaughter.
Wholesale Slaughter. Alrighty. Cool.
And go.
Okay, so the reason that we took Exile, I feel like I'm on a game show, and you have 20 seconds to answer. Go. So.
No, really, you have 20 seconds to answer.
I was gonna sit here for 20 seconds just to prove you wrong. So the reason we took, so Exile the mechanic was a mechanic devised far before I got here, but from what I have been told, it was a mechanic that had been put on cards to give Exiles a more unified gameplay identity. That, oh look, it has Exile on it, that means it's an Exile card, because that's kind of what they do with the whole hand manipulation and graveyard returning and yada yada yada. And it was then applied to cards that didn't otherwise have any other real relation or sort of like place being in Exiles. So there's a couple of cards like, the big Alpha Demon thing that has Exile. It's like there's no particular reason that this card should particularly be in Exile. It's not particularly exiling in its effect. So we'll give it Exile. There, boom. Now suddenly it is exile-y. Yay! And we'll move on. But Wholesale Slaughter is exile-y without the exile. It is random character sacrifice. It's, I like to think, one of the sort of poster childs of Exile. It's powerful, it's chaotic, it's frustrating, it's everything that Exiles is, so it doesn't need that little bit of, oh hey, did you realize that this was an Exile card? Because like it has Exile and stuff. We didn't feel that the card needed that, and at the same time we kind of felt that the card could deal with being sort of toned down a notch, so the card almost pretty much balanced itself with the removal of the now sort of like the never needed keyword on it. It never needed the keyword. Honestly, when I showed it to Ian and we're like, oh hey look, we're nerfing this card, Ian, our lead designer, for those who don't know, kind of looked at it and he's like, since when did that have Exile? I don't remember giving that Exile. So it was a long time ago, but he did. So yeah, and
it's funny because I can actually hear his voice saying that. I don't remember giving that Exile. I don't even have a unicorn.
Oh, yeah.
There's a question in chat I want to answer verbally for those watching on YouTube as well. Cool Core asked the question. Where'd it go? I'm gonna find it. I promise. Why didn't all 5 of the new decks in the new campaign get oppression cards in them? The response to that was, it's not about necessarily giving all of the decks oppression cards. It was about updating the decks for them to be prominent and useful for new players. It wasn't about just putting oppression cards in there. The oppression cards are cool for spoilers and whatnot, but the update was to make it useful for new players, right? To actually give them something they can build off of that doesn't suck for the first week. So that's what happened there. The next one was Wealthy Noble. Enjoy that one. So we're gonna do factionless. Factionless, Wealthy Noble. There we go. Your mic's muted. Guys, you killed Poga.
No, I'm here. Just to hear me swear colorfully. It's probably good, all things considered.
Yep.
No, okay, so Wealthy Noble, possibly the most sought-after community nerf in the history of Infinity Wars, besides maybe the eventual removal of Calamity, but even that's a pretty polarizing issue. yeah, so we spent a long time thinking of what we wanted to do with Wealthy Noble. Where is its place in the world? You know, it had definitely had a place back in the day where things like there was a million factionless cards, which there still technically are, when we were using factionless as gap fillers for strategies and decks that weren't completely comprehensive
And
yet.
now we don't need to ever do that again because sideboards.
No, we don't. Exactly, because of sideboards, because of an increasing size of like the card pool, we never have to release factionless cards in the same degree as we did before. In the same way, we don't need to release factionless cards with the same power level as we did before. So we had to think, what are we going to do? So first of all, we were okay. So we're gonna increase its cost to 2, and honestly, it was the only thing that we could really do with it without actually going back and redesigning the card. And it was such a marquee card. Everyone knows what Wealthy Noble does, and rightly so. So we didn't want to change what Wealthy Noble does. That was, you know, we didn't want to have people questioning the, you know, reality. Like, what is life? Wealthy Noble is gone. You know, we didn't want to sort of like trigger that sort of existential crisis. But so we just made it a 2-drop. And in testing, it actually worked out pretty well. It's still a relatively appealing card for those who actually want to honestly ramp their deck up with mana. In the case of like a 2 or 3 Purity Warpath, you know, I'm sure we'll still see some people running nobles and dropping them on turn 2 and 3 and 4 and whatever to get that super mana. So, but the fact that you can't just drop a turn 1, and the fact that you also can't just so nonchalantly drop it into any deck in existence with its other factionless pal Calamity, to just be like, oh, turn 9, whoopah, done. Okay, good. Yeah, I like to see that you had strategies there. How unfortunate for you. I happen to play Wealthy Noble and Calamity. And in our testings, at least, this has been in some way severely reduced. So we're going to definitely have to keep an eye on it. In the bigger sort of environment of Infinity Wars out on the live servers. But we honestly think we might have hit the nail on the head. We're not 100% sure. At no point are we against mana ramps. You will find this out in the next set. You'll be like, oh, so you nerfed. Okay, but then you replaced it with oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh.
A lot of you will be thinking that. So don't worry. Mana ramps are still definitely a thing and will be a thing for a while. They're definitely a staple strategy of trading card games. But you won't be seeing any factionless mana ramps for a while, if ever. Again, Wealthy Noble will be a relic, and it will be a, yeah. It's not being reprinted in Foundation, for those who are wondering. It's just not. So, just wanted to sort of like cover that one. People will fight me, and I will fight them back, but it's not being reprinted.
I'll fight all of you.
Yeah, I'll fight all of you. I make this game, James. Damn it. So,
he got it. He got it in
yeah.
there. He did it.
That's
he did it. Reddit.
That's the Wealthy Noble change. If there's any other specifics about, you know, decision-making processes in Wealthy Noble, feel free to ask.
Way to Dawn. I'm not really sure why that's a concern for you, my friend. If you forgot your password, you can go to lightmare.com.au and fix that up. If you want one of us to help you, we're more than happy to help you get back in the game. Not like your password's lost forever. Unless you want it to be. Then it might be lost forever. Lightmare.com.au. Waited on. Not Infinity Wars. Give me one moment. I'm trying to murder someone. Yes. That's why I said lightmare.com, not infinitywars.com. Lightmare.com.au. And if you want one of our help, then send the Twitch page a private message. I'll be happy to help. Something of the kind. Whatever helps you float your boat.
Boats are best when they float.
Generally.
Need to make a series of sort of like, there's the hype train. If someone's boasting a lot, they're on their gloat boat. what's another mode of transportation? The bus, as the fun bus.
The fun
There's
bus.
the hype train.
I like the
hype
gloat
train.
boat. I really
There's
like
the
the gloat boat.
Hype train, the fun bus, the gloat boat. The situationally relevant Segway. That's a little obscure.
I like that too. That's good. 1, 2, 5, and shuffle out. Wholesale. All right. Any info on the payment issues? Yeah, you sent me an email on that last night thinking that you were sending it to someone other than Teramis. I promise I'll get around to it as soon as I'm not busy. Promise. I
don't deal with.
I will
finances
make
and
sure that it is
cash.
seen. However, no one is able to see it until tomorrow. So I promise it will happen. 100%.
And I'm not saying anything because that's so not my place.
Yeah, it's all good. Come on, free cash. So after this match, we're gonna move into the big one, Descendants of the Dragon.
Oh, we are. It's the big one. Oh,
Yep,
delicious.
we've gone through everything else. We are gonna go into the big one for anyone who's sticking around looking for balance information.
For anyone who is
goat.
still somehow a DoD fan after
Yeah.
the last however long of trying.
3 DoD is actually pretty scary right now.
Oh,
That's not gonna help.
I'm terrified of those avatars. I'm
I know,
keeping
right?
an absolute hawkeye on them, being like, you want to cost 9, don't you? Yeah, you do.
You want to cost 9, don't you? Don't you,
Just
buddy?
give me a reason to make you cost 9. Just do it. Do it.
We did it, Reddit. Okay. Let's update this thing. Now, just so everyone knows, I always say good luck, have fun at the start of a match. However, he did not respond, and if I say GG and he didn't say anything, I feel like I'm in that boat where I'm like gloating to him. If he responded and he said good luck, have fun, or you too, then I'll say GG and keep that going. But he didn't say anything, so I won't start that. Patch stuff.
You're on your socially aware automobile.
I know, right? Okay, so with Descendants of the Dragon, we are going to be starting with Agent Coil Immovable. Go.
Oh, well, this is honestly, I like to have this as one of my more subtle nerfs. Because, okay, before I get into anything with DoD, the reason, first of all, for those who are aware, or for those who are unaware, we are looking at DoD in terms of a full faction, in terms of getting them giving them a more refined direction and sort of gameplay opportunities. For a long time, they have been a faction that basically sits there, tries to block and defend with its relatively mediocre cards, and then just spike you down through either morale or damage with some of its just huge overcosted or overpowered crazy cards. It's the only thing that's kept DoD afloat is the fact that it has some of these cards that are just insane. So, and honestly, besides maybe that one guy that, or maybe there's lots of guys that play the Avatar of Lingbound, but like, he, no one else likes you, and no one else likes that. So,
Can I show the cards? Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, the card as we're doing it. So this will be coil removable. That'll also that'll help me remember exactly what we changed because we did do some little changes. So yeah, so what we're doing now is we're doing a couple of things. First of all, we're taking all of the really big outliers of DoD and just toning them down a bit. We definitely still want them to be strong, still possibly even some of the strongest cards in the set, but we don't want them to be so far ahead of the rest of the faction that it makes everything else worthless. Okay, and that's what was a symptom of the DoD for quite some time. So, and then also what we wanted to do was we wanted to bring DoD back a little to its roots of being more of a over time slow morale grind deck. We'll find some additions later on that we're going to that are going to be able to show this, as well as we wanted to give DoD a bit more of the option, and this is where the avatars come in, just to hit face. As I say, because I put in the patch notes that I feel that every faction, regardless of what particular types of strategies they use, should be able to simply play characters and then attack your opponent and then win. That should just be the default. You know, in Street Fighter, everyone has like a light, heavy, and medium punch. Everyone, regardless of what strategies you use, you can just hit someone and they die. Same thing in Infinity Wars and a lot of other games. Okay. Okay. Moving on. So,
respect.
Agent Coil immovable. What we did with this guy was we made it so that instead of being able to only take 3 damage, we buffed that up to 5. But in the same way, we took him from 10 health and we moved him up to 12. So what this means is that he takes 3 hits to die instead of, I believe it was 4 to start with, because he was at 3 and he had 10 life, so you needed to hit him 4 times. So we have reduced his overall lives, technically, by 1 down to 3. But also we have increased his base health. The big issue with this change, the big reason we made this particular change, was because we wanted to make him a little less abusable and a little less combo happy with the rest of the faction. Because being at a maximum of 3 damage meant that he synergized a little too well with things like Spirit Armor and Daude and all of that sort of stuff. Now, you're still definitely going to be able to get value out of them. You know, Spirit Blink still gives you like upwards of 2 lives sometimes, but Spirit Armor, sorry, but it's nowhere near as insane as it was. So we definitely want Agent Coil immovable, as we do with all the coils, to be in some way gameplay relevant, and we hope that we have still achieved that with this card, but only time will tell. I've got a feeling people are going to still be running it, but you know, right. I've been proven wrong before.
Now, Kung Ji, the glorious strategist.
Alrighty. Okay, so Kunji, we'll wait till he's up on the screen. And we'll get into it because this is a bit more of a complicated one.
He's up.
Alrighty, so whenever a character you control blocks, that character moves to the back of the defense zone. This part of his ability is unchanged. Okay, we like this. We liked what sort of plays could be made around this, and it makes him an immediately relevant commander. So, no issue there. We want to keep that. But we have changed his healing effect. So we've completely ripped out the healing effect. He no longer heals. For those, some of you were like, does he still heal? Does he simply have this effect on top? No, he does not heal. The text would be like up to his nipples at that point. So this is, at the end of each turn, Kung Ji, the glorious strategist, lowers your opponent's morale by 1 for each deployed character you control that took damage that turn. It is a bit of a mouthful, but you know, it does what it does. So,
just for reference, by the way,
yeah.
It is, I don't know if this is intended, if you want to speak to this.
Yep.
His ability is only working for combat damage, just so you are aware.
Okay. I do believe that would have been a... Now, I can definitely... I do remember us making that decision. That would have been a... We're going to have to go through... We've got a little bit of space on the text there to be able to put some more stuff in. So yeah, that is intended, and we will go with it.
Cool. Move on.
Yeah, okay. Now that I think about it, the reason that it was combat damage is because he's using... See how it says when a character you control blocks, not when a character you control takes damage? So that's the reason that we're also keeping the combat damage restriction for the second part of the move, because that sort of like synergizes together, and we didn't want to make half of his effect go from combat and the other half of effect work from like lightning blasts and stuff. So first of all, for those who are wondering, no, it does not proc for every single character that you control that took damage, so this is not crazy abusable with, or at least should not be, crazy abusable with Ling Bao's Will. It is a single point of damage at the end of the turn, so if 5 guys get hit, then you deal a single source of 5 damage, or 5 morale damage, or lower 5 morale, or however that works.
All 5 of the morale damage comes straight from Kung Ji.
I like using the term morale damage, but it's not a technical term we use, so I'm not allowed to put it on cards. As far as I'm concerned, you just have 2 health bars. Theming be damned. So yeah, what we wanted to do here was we wanted to really, really push forward that with this one card, if you use nothing else, just this one card, you can then, in theory, create a solid defense that if your opponent is not able to attack through, and is not able to actually overcome with their characters, you will eventually grind out their morale. Now, this guy has to work in synergy with other cards because, like, you're saying, hey Poga, well, I'm just going to keep all my guys in support, or I'm just going to defend with all of my guys, and then Kung Ji isn't going to be able to do anything ever. That is then going to be remedied by some other cards that we have in DoD. Combo-wise, this guy we wanted him to be an immediately relevant commander that costs you nothing to really get all of the use out of him. Yes, you can play him, but, you know, are you really going to? Actually, he does have pretty good stats. But we wanted him to basically be a constant morale threat over the entirety of the game, and not in a really sort of spike morale damage in the way that the old avatars were, and the old avatar was. We have increased his cost to 5, and we have also increased his stats accordingly by 2 each for both power and toughness. This change was made for 2 reasons. One, smooth out the DoD curve a bit. They are very bloated at 4, so we wanted to move him away from that 4-drop area and compensate him thusly. Also, when we were actually Kung Ji is one of the ones, spoiler, that is going to be reprinted in Foundation, specifically with his new design, as we think it's very complementary to the way that we want DoD to work. So he will be reprinted in Foundation, and this drop at 5 really suited the more sort of condensed DoD card pool that you'll be getting within that first drafting environment. So we just really liked him at 5, and we gave him a stat boost to compensate for him. I do not believe his morale cost has changed at all. We did decide to keep him at a 10, so he has had a slight morale cost buff, technically. So yeah, that's Kung Ji.
That's Kung Ji. Let's move on to he who is 25% more glorious.
Ah, yes. Okay. Well, not too much to say here, but
Yeah,
what
pretty
we really
simplistic,
wanted to do,
but go for the reasoning.
yeah, what we really wanted to do with Glorious Warrior.
Showing the alternate art, because I can.
Ooh, I was gonna say, oh, the alternate art. Okay, not the spoiler.
Yeah, no, not the other art, but the alternate art that everyone is presently aware of.
Okay, cool.
Let's qualify that.
Oh yeah, that was smooth. That was like Laramie cigarettes smooth right there. Okay, so yeah, Glorious Warrior. What we really he now deals 5 instead of 4, just a straight up buff, 20% more buff, just boom, 5 damage instead of 4. The reason we did this was for 2 reasons. One, because of the Inspiring Soldier that we're going to get to eventually. We wanted to create more of a divide in terms of power between them to make them a little bit more different. But also we really wanted Glorious Warrior. We felt we had a really nice opportunity with Glorious Warrior to reach... we don't have a term for this yet. Feel free, chat, to possibly suggest a term, but I kind of want every faction to have a splitter bot. Not in terms of, like, obviously when it dies it breaks into 2, but a mid-range marquee card that everyone knows and is bordering on OP, and everyone can just go to in pretty much every deck that they have to have a safe, solid pick. Yes, I know that I'm playing Genesis, therefore I want some splitter bots. I actually think that's a really nice thing to have with only one particular card per faction, to just go to it and be like, yep, I want it, here it is, it's like an uncommon, it's not too hard to get, I feel good about having it, I'm always going to be glad to have one. And I felt that pushing up from the morale loss from 4 to 5 is really helps him sort of fill that role a little bit more. He really does stand out as a real value card at this point.
Yep. No, and that's actually a really good point for those that are watching on YouTube. We can reiterate that point where you're essentially saying that you want a cornerstone of the faction that doesn't make, let's say, some combination overpoweringly strong. It doesn't make that faction, the meta by itself. It's just the point of that card should be desired. We want that card. If you're making a deck that involves at least single or dual purity DoD, you're probably going to look at Glorious Warrior and say, yeah, I'm probably going to want one or two Glorious Warriors in here, and that's the point of having a card, as Mitch said, like a splitter bot.
Yeah, and just how do I put this? In terms of game design as well, it's also very important. This particular card, the Splitter Bot and the Glorious Warrior, act as I'm sure some of you have come across this, whether sort of consciously or unconsciously in other games, your first good weapon.
Right.
I like to say in adventure.
Good way to put it.
So let's say for those who know Dark Souls 2 or played Dark Souls 2, just because that's the most recent other game that I've played. For those who know, once you get out into Majula, the first area, and you go into the sort of the forest castle area, you drop down to some secret area that someone told you about, and you pick up the fire longsword, the flame longsword. It's a solid weapon. It's not amazing, but that weapon can then basically carry you for the next 8 to 10 hours of play. Okay, you can get it almost immediately. It's not too hard to find, but it's at such a high power level compared to the other stuff that you can get that it just makes you feel comfortable, and it just makes you feel confident in your ability to sort of take on the world. And that's what we're really doing with this. As for JG's comment before, I would Cornerstone definitely powerful, definitely 4-drop. Don't want to restrict it to 4 drops. Not everyone's going to have it at 4, but between 3 and 6 ideally. So, Inspiring Soldier. Here we go. Okay, so first of all,
I need to find something. You can keep talking, but I need to find what's already been spoiled, because this.
Oh, the Inspiring Soldier art. Yeah.
Give me one moment. I'm gonna find that while you talk.
He looks like an old school foil, even without being foil. I love
this dude looks like a really, a midget that loves green way too much.
Alrighty, so what we did with Inspiring Soldier, we completely ripped out his old effect. And before I get into his new effect, I'm going to tell you why. We really don't like temporary health buffs. It's just, yes, it's technically possible, but we just really don't like doing it. The reason is because it can get you into really awkward situations and really unintuitive situations. Like, for example, Inspiring Soldier used to be if you're next to him, you had an extra 4 health. Great, okay, cool. But what if he moves? What if he dies? You lose that 4 health. But what if, I moved this guy out into the defense zone with another guy next to him, and then I moved the Inspiring Soldier out? That other guy is now going to be, if he was on less than 4 health, he's going to sit there on 0. And he's going to sit there on 0 health for the turn, and you technically have an entire turn that you may then be able to buff him up above 0, in which case, yeah, cool, okay, he's now, not dead, but if he gets to the end of the turn and he's still 0, then he just dies automatically, but he can still technically block something even if he's on 0. Don't like it. Ugh. Okay, so we got rid of it. Whoa, very inspiring.
very, very inspire, much warrior, so morale.
So basically, what we did was we made him a mini Glorious Warrior. We wanted to really push home the ability for you to make an entire deck around. It's maybe it'll be dubbed eventually as the Kung-Ji deck. I don't know, but you're using Kung-Ji, you're using Inspiring Soldier, you're using Glorious Warrior to really apply a constant amount of morale pressure every single turn, forcing your opponent to act. You sit one of these guys in support, you've got your Glorious Warrior in defense, maybe with a Gauhan or something, you've got a Kung-Ji in command. Your opponent's taking upwards of 10 morale damage a turn just for not killing you. And we really like the idea of that deck, so this was an opportunity for us to really take that and sort of run that mechanic home and make it a bit more prevalent. Mechanic redundance is kind of the term for this, in which you have 2 cards that do exactly the same thing at different power curves, and we're fine with that. We think that that's fine. That allows people to make a really sort of a deck that's really concentrated and really has a specific goal and uses more than 1 card to achieve that goal. So I'm really curious to see where Inspiring Soldier goes from here and whether it becomes a bit more usable in that sort of environment. Are we going to see Unified Protect changes?
There might be a problem with Inspiring Soldier. Patch notes say that he was changed to a 6/8. Card says 7/8.
Hmm.
Just
Yeah. Okay.
Just a
Well, we're
heads
gonna
up.
leave that. Yeah, we're gonna leave that. So we will revisit that early next week.
Yeah.
I'll ruffle through the decisions that we made. One of them is the case. As to what one, I'm not sure.
Yep.
To be completely honest,
Okay. Next.
I'm pretty sure it was a 6/8. Sorry, guys. But we'll see.
Next.
Just really quick. With the Unified Protector, Unified Protector was actually one of the cards that was sort of under the chopping block to have this new effect plastered onto it. We decided to get rid of Inspiring Soldier instead. I think the Unified Protector, as it stands now, because of the fact that I don't think we're reprinting it in Foundation. If we do reprint it in Foundation, then it has a possibility of having its effect changed to more complement that. But if it isn't being reprinted in Foundation, then we're probably just going to leave it as is, and work to better reinforce that strategy with new cards instead of constantly sort of remaking old ones.
Next.
Z.
Z or G Ascended.
Alrighty. Well, I pronounce her Z-E-E.
Ah.
Har har har. Silly Americans.
So about those patch notes.
Okay, so Z Ascended. Basically, we liked her
hate you
effect.
so much.
We liked what she does, but she did it too well, and she just came out of nowhere. Obviously, everyone is aware of this. I'm sure everyone here has versed a Z in which they've just been like, "Whoop, time to hit the big red Z button," or big sort of like teal Z button, I guess, or aquamarine, the big button that just says, "Bang, 10 angels or 8 or whatever." And in which case your opponent is aware that your deck right now has no way of dealing with this, and then they hit you and they kill you in 2 turns. We want to make it so that every deck can in some way deal with flyers, because flyers are such an intrinsic part of the game, but to have to deal with that many flyers immediately with such prevalence and such power was just, no, we didn't want to deal with that. So it was a relatively sort of heavy-handed change. It does look very artificial when you look at the card. Its ability can only be played 2 times a turn, but in testing, honestly, it's been able to keep the power and keep the appeal of Z, but force you to actually plan it out a bit more and sort of ramp up to that power level. So there's not too much else to say about Z. The fact is, we liked the card. We liked where she was at in terms of power, health, ability, everything.
She
We
just did too
really
much
didn't
too
like
fast.
the fact. Yeah, too much too fast. Abusing a big thing was she was abusing a resource that maximum resources, which in most parts of the game you're not really actively making use of. So you're able to stockpile them right until the end, at which point you can just sort of vomit a million of them out onto the field. And
Right.
just wasn't a good feeling.
Next one is going to be very easy. Prayer of the Dragon.
Prayer of the Dragon. There are other cards in the game that were created, I'm pretty sure after Prayer of the Dragon, I'm not 100% sure. Prayer of the Dragon, really, too many oversights with this card. It does the same thing as a lot of other cards in the game that cost 2, so we just reduced it down to 2. Feel free to go have the dragon pray for whatever you want it to at 2 cost now. We're not particularly...
Now you only have to pay 2 to pray. We made it easier for you to pray. You're
we
welcome.
are a benevolent church.
You're welcome. What was the first avatar that's on the list? Is it Ling Bao? Yeah, it's Ling Bao.
Ling Bao. This guy's the
Avatar of Ring Bao.
Enough of that out of you. We talked about stereotypes. We changed Inspiring Soldier for this exact reason.
Dang it! Taking away all my fun, man. While you talk about Ling Bao, I'm gonna go get a drink real quick, since you have a drink. You made me thirsty. Be right back.
Oh yeah, glorious water. Okay, so first of all, yes, we did remove him from the Avatar, from the Titan cycle. Yes, this was a conscious decision. As someone has pointed out, although this wasn't immediately intentional, Sorry. Oh, drinking water too quick. You can technically see the 3 avatars in combination as their Titan, if you would like. Teramis is going to bring spoilers. No, this is going on YouTube. It's not like he's going to be able to catch me later. So yeah. So I guess if you want to, you can think of it as all 3 of the avatars joined together make the particular Titan cycle for DoD, if you'd like. But either way, the DoD don't have a traditional Titan anymore. I'm not releasing spoilers. I'm not doing it. You can't make me. No, I can't think of anything impactful yet subtle enough to actually spoil. Actually, I'm just going to wait till he gets back to continue talking about Ling Bao. Just read the chat. I like reading the chat. Yay, boring interim. Alright, I'll try to think of something I can spoil. But you guys have already seen Upgrade. Like, that's already in the game, so I can't spoil that. You've already seen Blackbone Witch. Very much elevator music. I kind of just want to play with my rats again. They're running around everywhere. Rats drinking is so adorable. Do like the little thing on their leg. Ah, okay. How much coding do I do? Very little to no coding. My job is basically, well, we're an indie studio, so we all wear a lot of hats. But I'm a designer, so when it comes to card sets, I now pretty much run card set design along with Ian. So we both sit down. I do a lot of the lore. Again, with Ian, we design a lot of that stuff. Then, and also the features and stuff. Like once we then get into actual development, I'm primarily QA, like technical QA. So everyone else in the company builds something. I then go through it and find out where they didn't do it right, and then I tell them that they didn't do it right, and then they go and do it right, and then they bring it back to me, and then I say that they still didn't do it right, and then they do it again. This is the circle of development. And then I also do, I'm also then in charge of balancing. Yo, I stopped talking about the card until you got back because someone asked me what I do and wanted to clarify what my actual role is. So
his role with Lightmare is to remind everyone how great it is that we can grow facial hair.
Yeah, that too. I basically do now that I think about it, now that I like reflect on it a bit with my sort of multiple hats, I do everything in the game except draw the pretty pictures and make the cards work. So I do everything except the hard stuff, basically. I get a pretty sweet gig.
Why did that not work? I don't even care, I'm spamming this. There. Screw the OSs. I don't even care. His role is to make this game.
I'm basically a game designer when we're coming up with features and content, and then I'm a QA during the implementation of that feature, and then I'm a designer again in terms of balance when we have to then balance the feature that we've been released. So I'm impactful at all 3 phases, but I never actually do any sort of.
He's also the Infinity Council's punching bag.
Yeah.
Very necessary role.
Yeah. They kind of my peeps. Alrighty.
Ling Bao.
So, Ling Bao. Okay. So the reason that we completely shredded his ability was A, because we needed a new direction for the avatars, and B, his ability was AIDS.
You just said that. That came out of your mouth, and there's nothing I could do about it.
I didn't like his ability. No one else liked his ability. You may think that you liked his ability, but you didn't. You just liked the fact that you won with him. And you're a bad person because of it. So we got rid of his ability. We helped you become a better person by changing Avatar of Ling Bao. You can thank us. You know, I'll put my PO box in chat soon. You can send me cookies. and thank you letters and add, you know, sentiments of adornment. Anyway, point is, we got rid of it, and then we had to replace it with something.
Yeah, pretty
So,
much. Like everything you just said boils down to, if you had Avatar of Ling Bao in your deck and you were proud of it, you're bad and you should feel bad.
yeah, and it's okay because the type of people that did aren't going to take offense to the fact that I just said that because of the fact that they're that type of person.
Well, and they're
Like this
very
Mayo
aware
guy,
of how OP,
the real Mayo.
like how warping the ability was.
Yeah, it was so it was like, have I won yet? No. Well, you're not gonna. Am I winning? Yep. Oh, there we go.
You do one of those DoD flow charts.
Yeah.
Are you winning? No. Do you have Ling Bao in your hand? No. Use the trading post. Yes. Good job.
Yeah, you win. Awesome. So that then gets into stop calling for me to fix stuff. Jeez.
He's not gonna fix anything. He's just gonna break it.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell other people to fix it.
So,
yeah, so
what is his new ability, and why does it work the way it does?
okay, so the avatars as a whole, we decided to give them all a common theme. What we wanted to achieve with the avatars in this latest iteration, as put in the patch notes, was we wanted basically a suite, if you will, of 3 different ways of beating your opponent down after you have secured a decent board presence.
That was a spoiler for Yuan Shi, by the way.
Oh yeah, so Yuan Shi is, yes, he is. Everyone's seen the art; it's on the forums, right? So we all know he's going to be the next Avatar.
For reference, for anyone watching, I will spoil Avatar of Yuan Shi's artwork for those who haven't seen it. It is on the forums, but I'll put the GIF up on here after while we're talking about Dowday.
Honestly, because I kind of feel bad that I don't actually get to spoil anything. Can we spoil its effect too? Can that be like the spoiler of this
Yeah,
stream?
why not? Why not? Let's do that.
It's done. Alrighty,
Yeah,
cool.
okay. Yeah,
There you
we'll
go.
do that after Dowday. So for everyone watching, we're going to talk about Avatar of Ling Bao's ability really quickly, then we'll go into Dowday, and then I'm going to allow Poga to reveal the current iteration for Avatar of Yuan Shi.
So there we go. There are still, yeah, again, good. It is current.
See, I
iteration.
do
We still
have some good bones in my body.
We do have some. We still have quite a few weeks to change. So again, it's not going to be. Probably won't be exactly what he is now. But anyway, so Avatar of Ling Bao. We wanted to give each of the. I'm going to talk about the avatars in general mostly, and then go into specifics. So we wanted to give each avatar a particular type of combat evasion. So Ling Bao's one we gave Unstoppable, and then we had Dowday's one we gave him Unblockable. So basically. And then the other thing that they share is they have a supercharged, super powerful version of the reincarnation. Now, some people think it's horrible, some people think it's great. How the new reincarnation works for the avatars, for those who don't know, is if you die, you just go straight back to the support zone, you are not in any way exhausted, and you get your stats reset. So yes, it is technically like you have died and come back to life. If you buff it up with spirit armors and Dowdays, you will just go back to your, for example, in Ling Bao 15-15. But it does mean technically you can just put him in defense, block stuff, have him die, put him in defense, block stuff, have him die, put him in defense, block stuff, have him die. This is accounted for. But in order to make it appealing to actually get an attack and to really sort of to do with these avatars what we wanted you to do with them, we all gave them some type of combat evasion. So Ling Bao, we gave Unstoppable, and relatively medium stats. What's that artwork doing there? Get rid of that.
No, I'm making it look cool.
Oh, okay. So it's like, yeah, he's right there. You say we could log in with mine, but I don't think that's too many spoilers. Okay, so and then his effect. We wanted to keep Ling Bao. Obviously, Ling Bao is the morale one, right? He is the avatar that deals with morale. So we had to think, how are we going to make a card that is an aggressively themed card that attacks the opponent that also deals morale damage? This wasn't the first thing we thought of. We thought, you know, every time he attacks, he deals morale. Every time he hits the fortress, he deals a flat amount of morale. You know, there was a whole bunch of stuff that went around. But we eventually came to the Snake Spirit. So obviously, Snake Spirit behind Avatar of Ling Bao, very sort of like You know, I don't actually know if that was intended or not, but we basically took the effect off the Snake Spirit, and we made it so that when you attack with this guy into a fortress, he deals morale damage instead. So the sort of idea with this guy is you put him in assault, you keep attacking with him, like you use every single one of your other cards to defend, and then you just attack with Ling Bao. You just attack with Ling Bao. Sure, he dies. Okay, cool. He had Unstoppable. He probably took out 2 or 3 things with him. Next turn, he's going to attack again. Eventually, he will get through, and eventually he will then wreck your morale. So that's basically where he's at, and that's what we want him to be used for. As for the cost, again, I am, to be completely honest, terrified of a 7-drop, but everyone I have ever talked to has reassured me that it'll be just fine.
Yeah. The famous last words, everyone.
Famous last words.
Fine. It'll be
so please, everyone here, spread the word. I have my trigger finger prone on the avatar's costs, ready to crank that up at any sign of, oh my god, this is absolutely crazy. So yeah, and that's Ling Bao. So we want to keep morale.
Shut up, Merlin. You're the least person to be saying something like that.
So yeah.
I swear it's not OP, says the guy who's on top of the ranked leaderboard every season.
Yeah, for those who are curious, the council and I actually do have a lot of talking that we do, and they do, in fact, impact the game a lot. Also, little spoiler, well, it's not really a spoiler, but just a heads up, after every set, we do a council re-intake. So for anyone interested in being in the council and seeing how we do things and helping us with this, after the release of Oppression, some weeks after, I will be looking for fresh recruits for the council. So
there's also one cool thing. Remember, I'm going to be talking to you about it this week, but next week was the one I wanted to do, the Oppression meeting on the stream. If you remember talking about that.
Oh, I have no. Well, to start with, I haven't. I was not aware, but that sounds great. Yeah.
There was one thing I wanted to do, and I wanted the council to be playing with Oppression on the stream. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do that earlier or later in the pre-orders, but I want us to have a meeting live.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Terrifying, but great.
Yeah.
So I guess we're not allowed to.
We'll be talking about that during the week.
Yeah. Okay. Keep me updated. Because the next couple of weeks is basically just going to be making this patch as clean as possible.
It's all about making Oppression as overpowering, as terrifying, and as full of power creep as we possibly can.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That is one thing about the council. You have to work on my hours, and my hours are Australian hours, so good luck with that.
Strayan.
Straya.
Do we want to move on to Daude?
Yes, please.
Avatar of Giant Monkey.
Personally, my favorite, to be completely honest. So what this guy does is... does Hubris mess with the Avatar? Yeah, if you Hubris and then kill an Avatar, it'll just die. Pretty much. It's not even a case of resetting or not, it'll just die.
Yeah, because it's literally going to be useless. Like, it's never going to be a single thing.
Yeah, Hubris will lose its... Hubris will take the reincarnation effect off of the actual card itself, and you'll just die.
What?
Wait, sorry,
I think
Hubris,
you're thinking
Humble.
of Humble.
Oh, he said Hubris. Yeah, I meant
Hubris
Humble.
down to a 1/1.
With the... No, if you Hubris something, it will go back to a 15/15.
Yeah, when the exhausting effect is simulated dying. It just doesn't go to the graveyard, right?
Yep.
So
but
it will die and reset, but it'll just exhaust and go back to support.
Yeah. So but Hubris is actually a pretty decent answer if you just Hubris and then try to ignore it. Like that.
Pretty much.
Especially
with Daude, because it's unblockable. It won't take damage.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah. I guess then you move the Daude into the defense.
Move it over to defense. Try and buff it, but like a Hubris on Daude is just pretty funny.
Yeah. So straight up, give that man a balance, very much so. This guy. I wanted to with this card. I wanted to make him a combo and a playstyle all to himself that doesn't require any additional cards to make him to make him really awesome. Yes, he definitely synergizes well with other cards like balance and other things, but the way that this guy works is in what we call the intuitive strength of this card is you block with him a couple of times. As you're blocking, his health is going down, but his power is going up, and then you try to predict and manipulate your particular defense zone to allow for Avatar of Daude to take as much damage as he possibly can without resetting, because then you reset and you're like, oh, okay, here we go again. And then, once you get him to, let's say you got really, really good and got him to like a 23-2 or something like that, you shift him into Assault, and now you have a 23-2 that is unblockable. That will pretty much just straight up kill your opponent in X amount of turns, because he just is unblockable. Obviously, there are definitely things that your opponent can do to get around this, but I really like where Daude is at now, and he really encourages sort of a bit more of a unique Sword and Shield gameplay within the one card.
And that was pretty much
yeah.
that was one of the heavy design templates going into reforming the avatars to be a threat for DoD, was that phrase Sword and Shield.
Yep.
So, give me more Kawai and Deadly Angels. No. What you're gonna get instead is a Dragon Spirit. Sorry.
Yep.
So, let's...
We can't show the whole card, but I need to see the actual like exact text of this. So,
do you want me to bring it up? I have the spreadsheet open.
Oh, beautiful! Yes, if you could.
Give me 1 second.
That up.
Dan, I'll just. Copy
I also
it
know
in
there's
Skype really quick.
Those who are wondering, yes, the Laureate is supposed to be a champion. Yes, that is a bug. Yes, that will be fixed.
Yes.
Abuse it while you can.
Kappa. Actually, I'm pretty sure he did not intend a Kappa to be in there whatsoever.
No, just take it for a spin. You'll be able to experience what she'd be like if she wasn't a champion, but she is.
There you go. It's in Skype.
Awesome. Okay, so here we go. Prepare your ear holes. So, Avatar of Yanshi. What is his stats again? He's a 10-10,
He's a 10-10 for 7.
Okay, so 10-10. 10-10, all of them cost 7. 10-10 for 7. At the end of the turn, if your fortress did not receive damage this turn, Avatar of Yanshi gains +10/+0. There you go. And then if it would die, it resets back down to its original. So he starts as a 10-10, weaker than Ling Bao. And he has flying. So that's his combat evasion.
That's not on the sheet.
Oh, okay. Well, so Avatar of Yanshi, he has flying. He's a 10-10. He has the reset mechanic, but the way that this guy increases his strength is every time that you do not receive combat damage. So if your opponent was not able to get, not even combat damage, sorry, just any damage. If your opponent was not able to deal any damage to you that turn, the next turn, Avatar of Yanshi will have a permanent +10/+0 buff.
Yep.
And this can work on successive turns, just get stronger and stronger. And then, obviously, if he dies, then he resets back down to his 10-10, and you're going to have to buff him up again.
Yep.
So yeah, that's Yanshi. I was wondering, for some reason I completely forgot what he did, because the last time we worked on him was quite a while ago. I'm like, he's got to be good. I'm like,
we had like a single night where every single discussion was poured into Avatar of Yuan-Shi, and then we never touched it again.
Oh, we put so much time into redoing these avatars.
No, it does not work only if he's deployed. Yeah, at least that's not part of the text. So he can be a commander and get that buff. That's not currently part of his text, but that's part of balanced discussions, right?
No. Not technically part of his development text that we have right now, but this will not work in command. So you cannot just have him there from the very start of the game. It's like, oh, look, you didn't do a 1-drop with haste. Well, looks like he's a 20-10 now.
Right. So yeah, that's the intention then?
Yes,
okay.
yes, very much so, only well deployed.
And this is why I have Poga, because he tells me these things. So yeah, the ability for those that didn't hear, at the end of your turn, if your fortress did not receive any damage, Avatar of Yuan-Shi will gain +10/+0. He has flying, and he has the Avatar reset mechanic. So if Avatar of Yuan-Shi would die, it instead exhausts and returns to its original health and power.
There we go.